As business owners, we've got so much on our plate, and one of the things that seems to slip a lot is follow up. So, with today, I'm going to show you why you're not closing any more deals than you ought to just because you don't have any follow up in place. So, the typical process tends to be you have the proposal will be sent, and then you're supposed to do the follow up, then a decision is made. Let me show you a couple of things that we have built that would help you do this so that it's in an automated way, and then we'll go through some examples as to why this you can implement this in your own organization. So what you have here is somebody makes has a meeting with a potential client. The meeting is recorded via a note taker. In this case, is Fireflies. As soon as that meeting ends, this automation picks up that meeting has ended and then takes all of the transcript and all of that information, passes it through OpenAI, through ChatGPT, and creates a proposal. Now, the ChatGPT aspect is obviously contains the instructions and the prompt that would help you design what the proposal should look like and fill it into your template so it looks exactly how you expect. Now, in terms of the follow up, which is the aspect that actually makes you the extra money, here's another scenario that we have within make.com that would automatically trigger. So this one triggers 24 hours before a deadline that we've set. So if it's something where you want something to run every single day, then yes, we have this. Now, typically, after you've created the proposal, you'd update your CRM to say proposals created. A human will go in, review the proposal, and then press send. As soon as the send button is clicked, the CRM notes that and then schedules the next follow-up. So the next follow-up might be 3 days later to make sure that the person received what you sent. So this is an example as to what that would look like. This runs every 24 hours and just checks to see if there are any notifications to send. And in this case, we're sending messages through SMS, through WhatsApp. We have a separate one that sends messages through email as well. And it pulls from the CRM, gets the information it needs, and then registers that in the CRM once it's done. So the response. So let's see where are these. Okay. So, so the typical way things tend to happen is you send out the proposal and then silence, nothing happens. You wait for days, you send a quick, just checking in email, and then it feels like you're starting to annoy the client, and then you eventually give up. But that's not a follow-up system, and that's not what you're hoping for. The proposal isn't really the problem. It's like nobody chases up to see why the client hasn't responded. In some cases, they would respond straight away, but most cases, they just go quiet. It might be that the price is too high. It might be that there's something in the proposal that they're not happy with. It might be that they're looking at other proposals, but you never know. So nobody tells you when to stop or when to continue. You should actually get to a point where you have a program that determines when you ought to stop, where the client has told you specifically that, okay, this is not going ahead, or they tell you, well, this is going ahead in 2 months' time, in a month's time. So 6-7% of people prefer rep-free buying. So that's where a representative has to essentially chase them to get them to do what they want. Is essentially selling, um, and if you have this follow-up system in place, it doesn't feel like you're bugging them or you're harassing them. It's just there's a cadence within which you send these messages to your customers without it feeling like they are being stressed or they are being bugged. So the follow-up system you really want to have in place is one where you send a proposal, you send some insight, send some follow-up or some value add in addition. Maybe you talked about challenges they have booking meetings, and then you send them some information about what to do to book those meetings, and then you just wait for the decision to come. You're not constantly harassing them for a decision immediately. You ask them about blockers, you ask them about timelines, but you're giving them value. You keep re-engaging, and you stay at the top of mind. And that's really what it's about, to be there when they are ready. So step one is you set the follow-up before you even send. So um, you could say to them at the point of concluding the meeting or during the meeting that you are likely to send them messages straight after the meeting, maybe 15 minutes after the meeting, you put on your diary, you tell them, okay, I'm going to send you the next one in 2 days' time just to see and make sure you've read everything and you're happy. So they know when the next one's to come and they're expecting it. So now the next step would already exist from the meeting. And at each point you're sending them messages, you know when the next one's going to come. It's not a surprise to them and they're not stressed. And if they don't want it, they should tell you so that you know to take them off the list. Now, obviously you don't want to be saying I'm just checking in. Everybody understands why you are sending that message, because it's you want an update on what was there before. But instead of saying just checking in, you could say something like, hi John, you mentioned reducing the time your team spends manually qualifying inquiries. I've outlined a part of that workflow we didn't cover on our call. So it's all relevant. It's all part of the last meeting that you had with them, and they are expecting it because it's part of the conversation. And then the third step is find out what's really blocking them. So 74% of business to business buyer teams showed unhealthy conflict during decision making process. So silence doesn't always mean that they are not interested. It might just mean that the proposal has hit a more complicated decision making process, and it, you just don't know. And without asking them, you never find out. So that's where the follow up comes in. So your follow up can help them sell the decision internally if, let's say, your contact is struggling to push it through the board, something like that. So the other thing is, it's all about asking questions, asking the right questions, and asking them questions that would position them as the ultimate winner. So is there anything preventing you from moving forward? Is there anyone else involved in the decision that I can provide information for? So you're trying to help them get over the line. Hopefully they answer these questions correctly, and you'd be able to move things forward. So where most follow-up sequences fail is that, firstly, you send a follow-up, and did you see it? You don't know. And you keep repeating the same message, just following up, just checking in, any thoughts, things like that. The idea is you keep providing value, even if they haven't responded to your proposal. So find something that you can provide to them. Use AI to come up with ideas as to what you can send. So instead, create a reason to respond. So if something has changed, let's say you've released a new version of your solution, or there's a new package, you can send that message. You found something online whilst you were going through your normal day, and you felt it would be useful to them. You discovered something, you can solve another problem. These are all reasons to re-engage, and the person to whom you've spoken in the past would know that there's still something outstanding. So what re-engagement looks like is something like this. Instead of saying just following up on our automation proposal, you might say something like, you mentioned your team manually follows up website inquiries. So if they've got something on their chatbot on a website and it's manually responded to, you say, I think there's a simpler way to automate it without replacing your current CRM. So they're not losing anyone there. So you're showing them that you're removing friction and you're helping them move things forward. So create curiosity, relevance to their current situation, and give them a reason to want to restart and to have that conversation with you. So to automate the system, just think about how you'd record the proposal, schedule the follow up, and make sure that each follow up has its subsequent follow up, and the person knows that there will be another follow up. Have AI review the draft that's come in, and then have a human approve it. And that's the automation that I showed you at the beginning. If the prospect replies, you want to make sure that the automation stops. You don't want it to carry on. If the prospect books, you stop the automation, and if there's no response, the next follow up goes. And that's it, because their response might just be, okay, stop, in which case you should stop. So here's a simple follow-up cadence that you might want to have or adopt for your business. Day one, you send a proposal. Days 2 and 3, you send value. So address something that happened during your sales call, and AI can help you do that. It can extract it from the transcript, right? Uh, Day 5 to 7, decision, ask what remains unsolved, or ask what's holding them back. Days 10 to 14, re-engage. So introduce a new insight, a new opportunity, a new solution to problems they have. And then the fifth step is the final touch, close the loop. So I'll close this out for now. Happy to pick it back up if things change, right? So you're not emailing them indefinitely. So you can remove them from the proposal campaign and then move them into a separate campaign where you just nurture people. And that's an option you could do. So the exact timing isn't sacred, the system is. So you figure out what works for your organization. So what the business owner sees is different from what you send in some cases. All right. So the proposal needs follow up. So when the business owner opens up their inbox, what they'll see is the client or yourself, you'd see who the client is, you sent 5 days ago, the last objection, the recommended follow-up, AI draft ready. So that's what you'd see in your CRM, and that's what that gives you an idea as to the state of every single lead, right? So that's what you see as the business owner, not the recipient of the proposal, but you, and it'll tell you. All depends on how you set up your CRM to present you with this information. Or if you have an operating system, it would email you all of this every single day. So the goal isn't to send more emails. As I said, is to make sure that you forget fewer proposals. Make sure that your follow up is scheduled and you know exactly when the next one's going out. Have relevant conversations, provide more value to your clients, and introduce new opportunities so it doesn't feel awkward when the next email comes and you're introducing something new. You don't need another 100 leads. You might just have those leads sitting in your pipeline and you just haven't chased them up yet. So your proposal needs a system behind it so that you know what's happening and so that everyone in the organization knows what's happening and the AI itself understands what's happening and works based on what's been defined. So firstly, agree the next step before sending, right? And you can introduce that as part of the information you do send. Never follow up without a purpose. There has to be a reason for your follow up. Add value instead of checking in. I hope you get understand what that means. Find a real blocker and ask them. Re-engage with a new reason to respond. Automate the repetitive parts and keep the human involved where judgment matters. So where if you're offering something, a discount or things along those lines, you want to make sure that it's worded correctly and the AI is not offering 100% discount if that's not what you want. So how many proposals are sitting in your pipeline? This is always the challenge I leave for my viewers. Look into your business, find out how many proposals you have just sat in your pipeline that you've not done anything about. It could be your WhatsApp, it could be your Telegram, it could be your email, it could be your CRM. Bring some structure around it and use it to chase these leads because you don't know who's going to come back. So how many have received the proper follow-up from your CRM for your database? How many simply just went quiet? How much potential revenue is just sitting there? You could do that calculation. And if your proposal follow-up depends on a human being remembering to send an email, that's a workflow you can automate. Who can help you with that. So here are the sources that I used to come up with some of the stats that I've shared. So 67% of B2B buyers prefer a rep-free experience. 45% used AI during the recent purchase. So a lot more people are happy using AI. So that's what I should have highlighted in the slide. Then the next one is also from Gartner. 74% of B2B buyer teams showed unhealthy conflict during the decision-making process. So you would never know that if you don't chase and work out exactly what the issue is and try and come up with a solution. And AI can automate follow-ups and personalize outreach while maintaining lead engagement. And it's all about the cadence and how often you chase these clients up. And then the final one is that effective follow-up summarizes the conversation, establishes the next steps, and uses engagement signals to improve the outreach. So at each point, you are providing value to the client. So the revenue is already there. It's in your CRM. It's just sat there in your contacts. You probably don't need another 100 leads if there are already deals sitting inside your pipeline that nobody's properly following up. So make the effort to follow up. And today, I want you to comment below what's your biggest problem with your follow-up proposals, and we'll take it from there. And what's left to be said is my name is Uwa. I'm the founder of Autori, so AUTORE.ai. That's our website. Please go on there, book a call, complete the scorecard if you want to know how prepared your business is for the AI world. And if you prefer to email, it's hello@autori.ai. So hello@autore.ai, or you can visit the website and book a call there. So until next time, keep shipping.